What happens when you fail? I get that it can be extremely frustrating. You set a goal, you didn't meet it. Now what? Well, the worst thing we can do is beat ourselves up. We got to freaking get back up and rethink what went wrong. And I'm kind of diving in on how to do that in today's episodes. Strap in, get ready for episode 211. Let's go.
The future of fitness.
How do you gain muscle mass?
Fitness is not complicated. It's simple when you break it down.
There's so much information out there.
No fads, no diets, just plain simple habits.
You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast.
Hey, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody, and I will be your host today. And if this is your first time tuning in, welcome to the show. So glad to have you here and just share some time with you. For my return listeners, thank you for coming back. It means the world to me that you continue to just keep coming back for more. I really appreciate it. And if you're, kind of just figuring out what this whole Bones to Bulk thing is, I really try to simplify fitness. I feel like the industry as a whole complicates fitness so much. It's got to be, the perfect macros and the perfect workout plan and the perfect diet plan. And that's just simply not the case. Fitness is so simple when you break it down. So I try to just break it apart into bite-sized 10-minute episodes and make it as easy to digest as possible. No pun intended. If you haven't joined our text community, please text the word podcast to 706-222-7551. You can ask me questions at that number. The way it works is once you text that to that number, you'll get a couple confirmation texts. Those are automated. And then after that, everything comes directly from me. It is a second number that I have set up just so that I can communicate with y'all. I send out some tips, some questions, some kick in the butt motivation from time to time. And like I said, it's just a great way for me to stay in touch. You feel free to ask me any questions on that. I only check it a couple times a week, so if it does take me a couple days to get back to you, please be patient, but I promise I will get back to you. All right, with that being said, let's dive in. Let me just start off with sharing my own personal kind of story with failing at goals. It's happened a lot, but there's one particular story I want to share with you. It was actually 2019, which feels like last year, but I guess now we're in 2021, so it was technically 2 years ago. I had set a goal to, at the end of 2019, to be at a certain weight, to feel just really good overall. Like I wanted to feel really strong, and I had a new max bench that I wanted to hit. Well, in late November of 2019, I started getting sick, like really sick, probably the sickest I've ever been in my life, and it continued for about 2 months. I had zero appetite. I couldn't keep food down for weeks. I had no strength, just like I was in really rough shape, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was COVID. I don't know if it was something else. Who knows? At the time, we didn't even know what COVID was in December 2019. But anyway, the point is I was super sick, and it just sucked. It really, really sucked. And so I really kind of came to a place of I don't want to end another year like I ended 2019. It was just terrible. I felt terrible. I felt awful. It was just the worst. And so what I did was I set out in 2020 for it to be biggest freaking year ever when it came to my own personal fitness. And then guess what? 3 months in, COVID hits, right? And we're all scrambling around. Gyms are closing. And I'm fortunate enough to where I have a pretty decent setup at home. But let's be honest, it's still not the same when you're working out at home, when you're used to working out in a gym. So, I had that setback, and it was just a crazy time, but I was committed to, I know what ending 2019 felt like, and I don't want to ever experience that again. And so I pushed even harder. And I don't think I finished 2020 in the best shape of my life, but pretty dang close. I really pushed myself and hit the goal I wanted on bench and hit my goal weight. And so my point in all this is, that the failure in 2019 set me up for the success in 2020. And whenever you fail at something, whenever you just are sucking at something, I really want you to think about that fail point, not in the sense of that you're going to wallow in it and allow it to bring you down, but in the sense of, okay, I failed. And there's obviously reasons why I failed. What led to that? And ask yourself those hard questions. What were my trip points? What things caught me off guard that I wasn't able to adapt to? What were my weakest points? Was it triggered by something going on in my life? Was it triggered by past doubts? Was it triggered by the people I'm surrounded with? And these are important questions to ask, because if we don't know what is keeping us from reaching our goals, then we can't correct it. So we've got to ask ourselves these hard questions. And I know people who sometimes your circle of friends can be a downfall. And I know that's not like a fun thing to think about, but are they, dragging you down? Are they, constantly wanting you to go out and party or eat junk food or just having get-togethers where there's tons of just terrible food? Like, what kind of effect are they having on you? Or maybe it's self-doubt. Maybe you failed in the past. Maybe you haven't hit your goals in the past, and these reoccurring doubts keep coming in your head, like, I'll never be enough. I'll never, fill in the blank. And it's important that we not let that self-talk ruin us. Because we can allow that self-talk to just completely devastate us and to keep us stuck. And we kind of go in these cycles. We get lost in this endless loop in our brain of, I can start, but I'm going to fail. I'll start, but I'll fail. And we've got to break out of that mentality. And the only way we do that is by taking actionable steps. Speaking of actionable steps, I'm going to take a sip of coffee. I'm recording pretty early this morning, so I'm still trying to wake up a little bit, but I had this idea and I had to get it down. Actionable steps. We think that in order to succeed, we have to have the perfect plan, or we have to have the perfect diet in place. Or if I just do a little bit more research, how many times have you fallen into that? Well, I got to study some more on this. I got to research some more on this. I got to, figure all this out before I can begin because I don't want to, fail once I start. And it sounds good in our heads, and it does. And I've been guilty of this before too, that whole, I'm not ready yet. But the truth is we'll never be ready. And there's only so much you can learn in study. The real learning begins when you actually get in the trenches and start doing the work. That's when you start learning what your weaknesses are. That's when you start learning what your strengths are. That's when you start learning what works for you and what doesn't. Because just because you read about something and it worked for this person or that person, that's cool. And it may give you some ideas and motivation, but is it going to work for you? Because the things that motivate me may not motivate you. And the things that motivate you may not motivate the next person. We're all so uniquely different, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just we've got to recognize, we're not going to figure ourselves out until we freaking start doing things. And this carries over into a lot of things other than fitness. People who, I don't know what job I want to do. I don't know what I want to go to school for. I don't know who I want to marry. I don't know. The way we figure that stuff out is by getting out there and, immersing ourselves in whatever we're trying to figure out. That's when the clarity comes. Because the more we just sit at home and read and study and try to think things through and plan everything out, the more confusion we get. How many times have you, and I do this all the time, but you're looking to buy a product, right? And you start reading reviews and you think you found the perfect product. This is the one I'm going with. Then you start reading the reviews. And some people are like, oh, this product sucks or this product's great. And then you're like, well, crap, now I'm really confused. And you go down this rabbit hole of trying to find the perfect product and reading all these reviews. And this one has 4 stars and this one has 4.5 stars. And in the end, it really didn't matter whether you picked option A or option B. I mean, they're both good choices. You know what I mean? I've done that before. Get lost in that endless loop of reviews. This is a total side note, but I love people who complain about a product online because it arrived damaged. This is a terrible product. It arrived damaged in the box. It has nothing to do with the product. The product could be great. It just got broken shipping. Anyway, I digress. My point is, you've got to make actionable steps. You've got to just choose to do things sometimes. And in the moment, it's not going to be fun. It's not always going to be like, ooh, woohoo, I get to choose to do this when I really don't want to. No, it's going to suck, and you're going to have to push through it, and sometimes you'll be kicking and screaming the whole way, but that's okay. Keep pushing, keep fighting, keep going after the things that you want to go after. Even if you don't know if it's going to lead you to your end goal, try it out. What do you have to lose? So maybe you'll try something and it won't really be a fit for you. Okay, cool. Well, now you know one less thing that doesn't work for you. And you've learned something from that experience as well. It's not like because we do something and it isn't the perfect fit for us that we failed. It's just okay, well, I tried that and that didn't work. Edison, what was it, 10,000 times? To figure out the light bulb. Failure teaches us something if we are looking to learn something from it. I read a book last night to my kids, and it's called What Do You Do with a Problem? And it's basically this kid, and this problem keeps chasing him and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And finally, the kid's like, okay, I can't even sleep anymore, so I'm going to face my problem. And he realizes once he faces the problem that there was opportunity in that problem. And I think we have to realize that as adults. We get lost in all these problems, and we think it's just terrible, but where's the opportunity in the hard things? So I hope this helps. I hope it gives you some motivation to just get out there and start trying things and doing things and taking actionable steps. If you're on any social media platform, please follow me, hit me up. I would love to connect with you. I am at Bones to Bulk everywhere. And remember, no matter what walls you're hitting, what things you're facing in life, what things are coming up against you, you can hit your fitness goals. You've got this.